Sure. I'm Brian Miller. I'm one of the owners and founders at Outback Deck in Atlanta. Our company is focused on outdoor living. So decks, porch, patio, paper hardscape, we do all of that. We have a window and door brand also, an interior modeling brand as well. The main focus of the business is outdoor living. So I started out back in 2007, 2008, like right in the midst of the downturn. And we've spent John and I have spent the last 12 years together operating a company. So first few years I was in it on my own, and then he and I merged businesses until where we are today. Yep. When we started the company, we were essentially about $2 million when you combine the two. We removed the window and door brand for quite a while. And so probably use that $1.5 to $2 million mark. And this past year we did just a little under $9 million of revenue. But so we've had a pretty solid sales process for the last 8 years. The interesting piece about Ingage is we were doing everything sort of old school flip book, right? So we had a great sales process. The guys understood it. They knew how to ride on it, but there wasn't a way to really engage the consumer in the conversation. No video content, no way to keep the sales guys sort of focused on specific things, little keys to the things they should be saying on each page. They had to sort of memorize it, and that tended to see guys fall off the process a little bit. It was very structured, but not as structured as what we have today. I think we're members of Certified Contractors Network, and so Engage had been doing some work with CCN and had been around some of the conferences and had a couple of conversations with Charlie, and eventually sort of succumbed to the pressure that he brought routinely. Yeah, so what we started to see happening in our sales process, we were initially running a two-step sales process. So we'd go do a measure, then we would go back and do a presentation. And that number that we called the measure called conversion rate, that number began to drop, where we had seen it almost routinely above 72%. When it dropped below 50%, we recognized there's something fundamentally disconnected in getting from sort of square one to square two. Hey, I've done all this work with the consumer. We've built a really great relationship with the customer, and we've done a good job of sort of beginning to show them the problems that they have and try to figure all that out. But to get back in front of them and do a presentation, we were losing opportunity. We didn't have a way to squeeze the process down and make it more efficient and also more effective in terms of how we related the information to the consumer. And we saw an opportunity with Engage to solve one of those two things, right? Which was, hey, give your guys a really great tool to keep them focused on the process and help the consumer walk through the second half, or what we call the in-home presentation portion, and have that be dynamic instead of sort of static with a flip. Yeah, I think it's great. Actually, we've learned a bunch about the importance of having a tool like Engage when it comes to any structured sales process. So in the one call process, I'm looking to be able to deliver to the consumer pricing that happens within about 90 or so minutes. And so once I get to the end of that sort of front end of the process, where I've done all the discovery, I've figured out what the problems are, and I'm trying to craft a solution, I need a way to seamlessly walk into the home and start managing the rest of the process and engaging the consumer in conversation, showing them pictures, dynamically being able to have them interact with the company video, the company story, the products, the process in general, and make it more interactive instead of talking at the consumer. So Engage allows us to do that efficiently and effectively and keep the guys in a really structured process in a one-call close. In a two-call close, I need a way on the front end to convince the customer that the value is actually there to meet with me again. And so I can use the Engage tool to build a value proposition for the consumer, not just in, hey, here's what we've walked you through on the front end of the discovery phase, that we call the measure call phase, gathering the information about problems, but also putting in front of them 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 dynamic slides that help me to show the consumer, here's where we're going next. So this is what you can expect, and here's why that matters to you, right? So the transition piece to get from, hey, I'm here today and I need to come back tomorrow or the next day, I needed another tool that would bring enough value that the consumer would want to say, sure, I'll give you some more time, I'll schedule again. In our business, though, we also run a design build process. So we have a lot of outdoor living projects that are relatively complex, roof line connections, big fireplaces, outdoor kitchens. Sometimes we need a full set of plans. Sometimes we need engineering. And so that process becomes actually multi-phasic or multi-steps, not just maybe one visit or two, but sometimes that's 3 or 4 visits. And so we've been able to pull that process apart into phases and create an Ingage presentation on the front end that helps the consumer to see the value of engaging in a design contract with us, that then allows us to run a very structured design process and help them figure out what they want and see it visually, so that we use a second Ingage presentation for that. And then we have the final presentation, which actually takes them through the sales presentation and to contract, right? So we started to realize, hey, this tool isn't just good for sort of a single process, but we can actually use this for multiple things. Now we have, I think, 7 Ingage presentations that we use across all of our organizations, the window and door products, the interior products, and then the 2 or 3 that are also in 1 call and 2 call and design build. Yeah, so pre-COVID, we were a paper company. We did all our contracts were paper, all our sketches and drawings were by hand. We had a little bit of technology there, but it was really me and another guy doing drawings online and doing other things like that. But the sales guys were legit. They were doing everything handwritten, and then coming back to the office, sketching, doing a hand takeoff, maybe using an Excel spreadsheet to kind of come to a price, but then going back and using the flip book and then opening a big, thick proposal and walking the customer through it and getting somebody to physically sign. Within the 2 to 3 weeks of when COVID hit, we took that entire process paperless. So we built all of our proposal and content in Adobe. They're all editable PDFs. We took ourselves into a pricing tool and started actually working through a pricing tool strategy, which we've now developed into a really great tool that gets to price very quickly and very effectively and very accurately. And so sort of the team started to make the transition, and we were using an iPad and sort of had PowerPoint, and we could pull up pictures and we kind of had folders and things like that. But the beauty of Ingage is it took all of that sort of poking around and finding the different files and trying to organize all that in a structured way for guys to walk it through, and it put it into one location. And in addition to getting it all into one location, the guys actually started to get some feedback. So when you're walking through a consumer in a presentation in Ingage, it's easy to get the customer to give you feedback. Hey, so do you feel like you're tracking with what we're talking about? Does this process seem to make sense to you? Hey, are you finding the information that you really need? Are you seeing the kind of pictures you need? We get immediate feedback, and then we can very quickly go in at the office, and even before they run their next appointment, make a quick change or add something. You can't do that in paper. It doesn't work that way. And even in PowerPoint, you could do that, but it's not as effective as being able to launch that in a tool that then your entire sales team can use, right? Now I have to send this whole PowerPoint presentation back out to everybody, and they have to download it, and that takes time, where I can just do it in Ingage, and the guys can go in and hit the button and it re-downloads, and there it is. It's all done. So that's been helpful. I think the guys adapting to that was really more about, hey, it's another change, it's another tool. So what we know with salespeople, they don't like change. Right? In fact, most people don't like change. So engaging in this kind of a conversation with them was really about, hey, why is this going to be helpful for you, or why is this going to matter to you? So if you're in ownership or you're in management and you're trying to make a decision about using a tool like this, remember, just like with a consumer, what's creating pain for your guys? Where do they need solutions to help them be better, more effective, get to yes more efficiently? And then when you sit down and talk about the tool, put it in that language for them, help them to see the benefit for them in using the tool. the other piece to that, the other part of the question that is the ROI. So, there's probably a couple different ways to look at that, but I'm a data guy. I'm a data mongering monkey. So I like to get around and kind of look at stuff. Engage gives you some data about how much time your guys are spending in certain areas. There's no perfect system around that, but you can see if they skipped over something or didn't open something. So you get sort of the 10,000 foot view, I guess, of, hey, is the guy actually on process? And so maybe it's not as deep as AI, but it is a good indicator. Is the guy sticking with what we've taught him? And you can see that turn up in his conversion rates and even in his close rate. If he's off process, you can see that, and you see his rates are going down, and you know where he didn't spend time. That could be something that's unplugging his skill in closing a deal. So there's that piece. And so there's some direct correlation to how many jobs are we closing with the guys on the tool versus not, because I have no way of getting any input unless somebody's doing a ride along, unless I have a tool like this. So there's value there. But I think the more important piece is speed to lead. So one of the most important things in the industry is how fast can I get to a consumer and get a price in front of them? And in order to do that and to increase the number of times one of my sales guys can see consumers, I need a really structured set of tools to get there. I have my own pricing tools. I have my own proposal tools, but the Engage presentation lives right in the middle. And now as it's growing and getting better, now I'm going to be able to show price in there as well. And so before I need to go to writing a proposal, I now have a way to get to price quickly and put a really great presentation that's customer friendly and engaging in front of that customer and interact with them and have a great communication to help them to see the merit of hiring us as a contractor, the value of the services that we offer, and the price that's going to cost.
Yeah.
So, can I put a dollar value on that? Probably not, but I can tell you that my guys were on average seeing about 5 customers a week. And that number now they can see 7 to 8. And some of my better guys on some of our smaller ticket items, like a louvered pergola system or a window or a door, they could see 10 or 11 people a week, where they were still only seeing 5 or 6 because they had to have those second slots to go back, right? Now they can do it all at once.
Because it allows you to go to a one-call close.
Yeah, and so you could technically look at that and go, if I have 5 salespeople and they can do 3 more appointments than the 5 they're already doing, that's about a 60% uptick in the number of times I've given the price. And if you're running at a 25 or 30 or 35% close rate, you can pretty quickly do the math and look at it and say, yeah, this tool is going to more than pay for itself. I don't think you even need to get to those numbers in order for it to be able to pay for itself. But there's also real value in you as an owner or a manager not having to do as many ride-alongs or not having to pay as much attention to, is the guy really sticking with the process? Because now you have some data coming back to you saying he is, or he isn't. It's accountability, right?
Yeah.
So I think when I add all that stuff up, I would just look at anybody and say what they're asking for you to pay and the amount of support that you're going to get in developing the tool, putting it into good practice, getting good data back from the Engage staff on what's working and what's not, what other people are having success with, and the 100,000 users that they have. That stuff will just make your company better, and that's definitely worth it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the guy who always is going to look at my vendors as my partners, and when I'm looking for a relationship with a company that with whom I choose to do business, I have a pretty high bar. I have a lot of high expectations because I know who we are as an organization and I know what we bring to that relationship. So, I can just tell you from my perspective, I have a half a dozen vendor relationships that are critical points in my company that we really need to be able to gather and look at. And we chose Engage over some other products in the marketplace, primarily because of the people with whom we got to do business. So, every company runs on the merits of the products that they bring to the table, but those products are only as good as the people that you have. And so the team at Engage has been exceptional at responding, meeting our need, but also coming back to us with new ideas or new data and then helping us to craft the new presentations to really meet the needs that the consumers have. With that many users and that much data, there's a ton of information coming back to me as an owner that allows me to make better critical decisions more efficiently because I can see what the data says. So whether you're a data person or not, the relationship is there, and that relationship has real merit and value. So if that's the only thing you're looking for, then I think you can find it here. If you want all of that, it's hard to find that in almost any vendor. So you got a good partner if you choose to move forward with Ingage.